What is up, everybody? Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Today we are going to be spectating this guy Vinnie. We did also upload a video yesterday spectating Loki, who is played by Harvey. He is on this guy's team, so Vinnie is the tank for mutants as well. He also uses 4 different tanks in this replay. As you can see, if you didn't know, when you're going through the replay, you can always mouse over this and see which characters they play. So he does end on Groot, plays a little bit of Groot, plays a little bit of Venom, Mag, and Thor at some point. So we're going to get a nice little mix of tanks swapping for different situations. Let's head right into the replay. So this is going to be a pretty high ranked lobby. He is also playing with Optic Formal, which I believe is a COD player, but I don't know if they do any Overwatch stuff or anything like that. And he's also playing against Raring Garlic, which I believe is a previous Overwatch player, so I've been told. But coming right out of the gate on Groot here, this is going to be, I've only watched like the first few minutes of this replay. It is going to be a little bit of a slobber knocker. It's going to be a longer game, so I'll do my best to narrate what's going on, but there might be a couple downtime periods where I'm not able to say a whole lot. So just keep that in mind. But just tossing down some walls, blocking some damage here. They actually lose their Punisher right off the rip, so this first push is kind of dead. They don't want to push without another DPS. Just throwing seed bombs in there, getting a little bit of poke, and using his walls to block a little bit of damage, helping this Strange step up. And when the Groot walls him off, he walls off the enemy team using his E wall, which is bigger, much more tanky, that sort of thing. Gets right in here with the seed bombs, and they're able to actually take out this Groot. Uses his big wall to stay safe as he drops low. And just kind of wailing on the enemy team here. The enemy Loki is actually built ult already, so he Luna ults to keep the enemy safe. Plays behind his walls here. Gets his E back and uses that wall to stay alive. Gets topped off and quickly goes in. Walls off this Doctor Strange, walls off his escape, and they're actually able to get the KO on him because of it. Take out the enemy Loki and are able to take this first point without too much difficulty. So, pretty dominant first fight, but this game does have a lot of rounds in it, so this is going to be a little bit longer than the usual video, so just stay tuned and see what happens. He is also playing with a Widowmaker, which is not a Widowmaker, oh god, a Black Widow, so kind of interesting to see that too in a very high level game. Walls off the Groot a little bit here. Not able to fully box him out, but gets a nice ult. Unfortunately, it is in the Loki lamp, so not able to get all of the enemy team, but they do take out the Loki because of it. And he sees the Groot out of position, walls him off with the big wall, walls him off with a small wall as he goes to the right-hand side there. And they're able to get a nice KO on him just before the enemy Luna ult comes out. Sees Doctor Strange going for his team and tries to help them out by giving a little bit more damage to that Doctor Strange. His Widow is able to pick the Luna on the enemy team and put a little bit more pressure on this Loki here as well. And he steps up with her just to create this space. Drops a little seed bomb, able to get the KO on the Loki and just walling off this hallway, forcing the enemy down to the left-hand side there. His Doctor Strange does also portal here, so cutting off the escape from anything else. Enemy team is not able to get through either of these hallways, and they're able to get a lot more distance on the payload. Unfortunately, as you saw there actually briefly, the Invisible Woman was sitting in invisibility on the point and was not actually making it go any faster, so keep that in mind if you're going to play Invisible Woman. Drops a couple walls here, drops 2 walls to wall this Groot off the rest of his team, and his team is able to capitalize and take him out with the help of Punisher ult. The Moon Knight on the enemy team ults, but they're not able to get quite enough, and his team is able to get this first point without, again, too much difficulty. Get a couple nice fights, he gets a nice pick on their tank, and without a tank, they are just going to kind of crumble as a result. So, chasing down this Squirrel Girl a little bit, playing some cover, making sure that he doesn't run down a tiny hallway, going towards Squirrel Girl. Has access to ult, so might be looking to make a play here. Dropping some walls just to block damage, but as you can see, this guy is not just dropping walls to block damage, he's dropping them very intentionally. Goes for an ult here, not able to get any big picks off of that because the enemy Loki ults, I believe, the Squirrel Girl ults, his Invisible Woman ults to keep his team safe, and they just back up because it's going to be a little bit of a wet noodle fight if they try and take out anyone from the enemy team. Walls off this Groot, yet again, walls him into a corner there. walls him off of his healers, and they're able to take him out. This guy does kind of save his walls for points where they can be most useful, which is very, very good. I see a lot of people at lower ranks just kind of dropping the walls, using them to block damage, and, you know, especially if the enemy team has like a Punisher turret or infinite ammo because of Rocket and Punisher or something like that, they will just shred through the walls and you won't have any resources or anything like that. So I think it was interesting to watch this guy play and see him pretty much hold his E to get picks or facilitate picks as far as that. His E is also a valuable wall to just have up as well, so it does give you some overshield, gives you one of the highest health pools in the game. Walls off the Groot here. I don't think he was going to survive that anyway, but any escape chance that he had is no longer valid. The enemy Psylocke does ult and get a 2-piece. Squirrel Girl finishes off his Widowmaker. I keep saying Widowmaker. If I keep saying that, it is what it is. I'm just gonna own it. Opts to ult the Luna solo here. Probably not a great move and is just taken out here. Needs to reset. Definitely should have saved his ult for the next fight, but they don't have a whole lot of distance to go with just over 2.5 minutes left on the clock. Switches to Venom here because they need a little bit more backline pressure. He was doing really well on Groot, I would say, but doesn't have access to his Groot ult. So Venom is going to be a good dive tank to play for this last little bit. If he can get a pick on the back line, he's going to be sitting pretty. Gets a nice little diving strike into the Squirrel Girl and is able to quickly take her out with the help of the Widowmaker. The Black Widow, good freaking lord. Gets right back in here. The enemy Luna does ult here, but gets right back in on the Loki. Ends up getting him in a nice pick with the Doctor Strange ult. Pops the wall behind this Luna here, able to take her out. And Cap is just able to stall the point. Unfortunately, with his ult, just kind of runs in point, spins the point as long as he possibly can. As his ult fades, he runs out of there. Venom goes for a nice little swing into a diving strike here. Backs up, still creating space for this payload as it nears the 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. And actually goes for a diving strike here. Forces a couple people off the point, and they step off just for a second, and they're able to get that point to 9 meters and finish off the round with a score of 3-0. So, pretty good swap too, I think, at the end. I think playing Groot might have been a mistake if he had just stayed on Groot. They might not have been able to see that same result. So getting on the Venom, getting that pick on the, the Luna, the Squirrel Girl, doing a couple good things there with his diving strikes, seeing them, creating that chaos. Since his Punisher, it appears to be kind of frying too, so yeah. His Punisher and his Widow are actually doing a ton of damage, so taking the enemy team Loki low with this portal from the heavens. Not able to get a whole lot off of that, but as Groot steps on a point, his team switches focus, and this Groot just melts. I don't really know what he's... I don't know. Feels like he's just getting fried every time he goes in, so I don't know if it's just a healer gap or what, but if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. Why not? Drops a little bit low here, still keeping his F and his E off cooldown for situational purposes. Definitely see a lot more Magnetos drop their E and their F as soon as they get in danger, so playing with those a little bit more patient, I think, is definitely better. Using them to save a crucial DPS if they get targeted by an assassin, or just saving yourself to make sure that your healers, if they're doing something else, have time to top you off. Very, very important. Posturing up ahead of the point here, just getting some Magneto auto attacks on the enemy. Getting a little bit of poke damage, building closer and closer to that ult. Sees the Cap go in. Immediately kind of turns around, sees if people need some help, shields the Widow there to make sure that she stays safe from any follow-up damage, and the Invisible Woman comes out on his team to counter the Psylocke ult. The Luna ult on the enemy team comes in, so they're just going to walk right in here. Thankfully, Doctor Strange is able to defuse that tension, still get a nice little 2-piece through the Luna ult. Pretty crazy, and Hela is over here, very, very low, and staggers herself pretty bad on the right-hand side of this point. Going into just about 2 minutes left on this offense. Almost able to take the Groot out here. Doctor Strange kind of overextends, so he's using his E to make sure that Strange stays safe, stepping in front of him with the barrier as well while he backs up. Has access to Magneto ult as well. Here's the Loki ult, and Loki is going to be using the Luna ult to help his team step up. The cap is taken very, very low in the back, and is going for this one shot on the Luna, not able to actually hit it. But this cap is creating so much chaos in his backline, he has to try and help his team, and they actually lose a tick just off of that. Not able to get anything with the Doctor Strange ult. They kind of have to put all of their energy into just taking out the Loki. They end up taking out the Groot here, hopefully. Never mind, they are not, because the other Luna ult comes in. Having 2 Luna ults on your team is definitely kind of crazy, so Loki, Luna, big combo. And he's just trying to posture on point, stay alive as long as he can, and delay that timer. Just under a minute left, but the enemy is going to take this first point and start their payload journey as he respawns. His Punisher switches to Moon Knight here. There's a lot of good swaps, I think, in this game, so definitely shows what swaps can really do to change the tide of a game. He stays on Magneto, though. I don't think he's doing anything poorly or anything like that, so there's really no reason to swap off of him. Leave a comment if you think he should have switched back to Groot or something here. He's actually taken out by the Psylocke ult. I also do see a lot of people run out of Psylocke ults. If you have 5 people in there, she's not going to be able to kill anybody, especially if your healers are good and they're healing people. So you saw that the Psylocke was moving towards the backline there, and he followed that circle, making sure he stayed in there. Unfortunately, it cost him his life, but definitely still a good thing to do. His Mantis ults, so they're able to get a little bit more counter pressure and just run down the enemy team. The enemy Loki ulted as well, used his Luna ult again, and his Doctor Strange gets a nice little 4-piece with the help of his ult. Invisible Woman, I think, effectively wasted her ult there. They definitely didn't need that. They could have saved that for another occasion, but still cleanly ace the enemy team, are able to posture up, fully reset, make sure that they are taking a breath, getting in here, using this mushroom to get high ground, then floating over to the other side. That hop up seems to be a little bit difficult for Magneto, but going right back in here. And they do have access to Bucky ult and Magneto ult, so hopefully he can get a pick on this Luna. Takes the Hela very low, but she's able to fly into the Loki greenness and get healed up. Luna ult comes right back in. Pops Magneto ult, going for the one-shot. Doesn't get Luna, but does get the Psylocke. So the enemy team should be down a DPS. And just still posturing up on this point, is able to stay pretty healthy with the help of his shield. Take the Hela low again. Goes for shots on her on high ground. Keep that pressure on her as opposed to going for the Groot on point. Uses his shield as he sees everyone turning towards him. And then uses his barrier to, again, delay that pressure, letting his healers top him up. And allowing him to be right back at full health to contest the point a little bit more. They are getting pushed back here a little bit. As Doctor Strange goes for yet another ult. Gets another nice couple picks because of it. Loki Lamp keeps the rest of the team safe. And we are just auto-attacking. Getting all that good splash damage. The enemy Loki opts to ult the Doctor Strange here. Goes to height. They know he's coming in for an ult. So just kind of waiting for that. They're able to just take him out, though, and didn't get a whole lot out of there. So this is definitely a big swing for them. They know the Loki has wasted ult, so they only have to deal with one Luna. It is 4 ults to 4 ults, so this next fight should be a little bit of a slobber knocker, as previously mentioned. His Namor ult's not able to get a one-shot there, but the Luna ult comes out, the Hela ult comes out from the enemy team, and he is going to try and absorb a little bit of the pressure coming in with his ult. Invisible Woman ult comes out for his team, and they're able to just play on point, not give up too much ground, play inside this, and the enemy is triggering overtime. Unfortunately, once all the ults have faded, Psylocke is able to get a 3-piece, Strange is able to clean up one more, and they are going to get aced going around this final corner. Likely not going to be able to contest this. Respawning again, his Doctor Strange is going to portal them right on top of point. Thinks about switching to Thor, but stays with Magneto, and they teleport right behind the point. It does get the objective, and I think that portal actually screws them over a little bit there. The enemy team is able to just ignore the payload for a second, run them down. They get a nice pick on the Mantis, on the Punisher, and able to get a lot of ground, a lot of pressure, and definitely take his team a little bit more into chaos than would ordinarily be invited. Trying to just reset here, wait for their respawns, push the enemy out of their spawn. Sees the Doctor Strange over here, helps his team take him out. And they lose a lot of ground on the payload just because of that portal. Definitely make sure if you're playing Doctor Strange, you mess around with the directions of the portals, where you're placing those, all that sort of thing. Because it will make a huge difference. As you can see, it can go sideways pretty quick. His team backs up, sees him go down. And this Psylocke on the enemy team, along with the Hela, are doing a ton of damage to them. Do have access to Invisible Woman ult and Doctor Strange ult. But the Psylocke on the enemy team has actually built towards ult one more time. Invisible Woman ult comes out to counter that, and Luna on the other team, or Loki on the other team, once again steals the Luna ult, able to keep that. Throws up his shield to help save his enemy team from this Groot ult, and goes for the one-shot on the Luna again, misses that unfortunately. So definitely just going to get pushed back towards spawn here, even as his Hela, or the enemy Hela, is raining down destruction on his team. Trying to shield the Punisher, making sure that he lives for as long as possible, but Psylocke and Cap are able to take him out. Posturing on point, trying to waste as much time as possible, waiting for any kind of cooldown to come up, but they are pretty far away from ults, and the enemy is just going to be able to take them out with no ults on their side. So, tying the score 3-3, and we are going to go into a 4th round and a 5th round. I believe it does add a minute to each person's time, something like that. I don't know exactly how this works, but I believe since they won in overtime, they have a minute, and then the other team has a little bit more time, so they just add that minute to the other time. Leave a comment if you know exactly how that works. I think it would be something that people kind of just see but don't really fully understand. Me being one of them, I definitely also don't understand it, so hit me up, you know. Posturing up a little bit here. The enemy team does only have 45 seconds to make this first push, so they do need to make it count. They are coming in much quicker than they did last time with that little bit of extra urgency. I have also noticed that this Magneto saves his right click for when it's a little bit more beneficial. He doesn't just spam it whenever it's up. I just noticed right there he held it for a pretty long time to push the DPS back a little bit more. And they do lose their Punisher, so they're going to lose a little bit more damage on the point. Probably not even going to be able to take out one of these bigger tanks, especially with that Loki blasting heals into him. And they concede this first point with just about 5 seconds left on the clock. And they're going to have to play the distance game here, waiting for their ults, waiting for an opportunity to get the enemy off of that point. The enemy Psylocke does ult. She's been playing very, very well. Actually gets a 2-piece, finishes him off for the 3-piece. Technically, someone else on her team got that kill, but the enemy does get a 5-4-0 here in overtime and getting a ton of distance on this payload. Still sticking with Magneto, waiting for this Doctor Strange to portal them back to the fight. Sitting on Invisible Woman ult, almost Luna ult, and almost Bucky ult as well, so they do have a lot more damage coming in. The enemy Loki Luna ults to keep her team safe. Groot ult comes out, and they take out his team's Namor. He blows ult, seeing a couple people go into this little cubby here. Goes right in there, not able to take out the Luna, unfortunately. Luna then ults, Doctor Strange ults on the enemy team, and his Luna ults to defuse that pressure. Since the enemy Luna ulted first, that should fade. His Luna will still have some extra time on that. And it just runs her down. Make sure that she doesn't touch point. Keeping her in the back, keeping that pressure on her. And thankfully, they are able to take out everyone from the enemy team. And the 3rd round ends with a score of 4-3. And they are just looking to beat that 96.5 meters. Thankfully, they do have 2 minutes and almost 30 seconds on the clock, so they should be able to do that. It's pretty much double the time that the enemy team had to do the same thing. So let's get right into it. Switches back to Groot for this last push here. It seems like he likes Groot in this little hallway. Just because of the walls, people do step up, and it's a very tight corridor, so if you can line of sight them, they could get a nice pick on the tank and turn that into a pretty swift victory. They are going to save portal for this first push, Save portal for if they die. Stepping up very quickly. Groot tries to wall him off from his team, so he tries to move to the left to get a little bit better line of sight towards his healers. Uses his E-wall, tries to create a little bit of space between this Groot and his healers. Groot drops a little bit low, pops his E as he sees Groot get hooked. Line of sights the healers even further, and they're able to get a pick on the Groot and run down the Doctor Strange. They get a nice, clean ace on the enemy team there. Very, very good wall placement. Very, very good line of sight, keeping that Groot from getting healed for a little bit longer than he expected. Bucky pull is also pretty crazy, especially if you kind of kidnap a tank. Wolverine is more known to be the kidnap character, but definitely a good thing to do. Just pull a tank, put a Groot wall behind him. Very, very good pressure. Posturing up, trying to create as much space for this payload as they possibly can. Throwing down some walls, just creating a little bit more chaos in the enemy ranks. Sees this Magneto step up. And Loki lamps come out. Not able to get a whole lot of kills with that up, but his Bucky does get a nice ult here. The enemy Luna ults to keep her team safe during that. His Cloak and Dagger ults, so he knows that he can stand on point. Gets his Groot ult ready. Gets a nice little two-piece pick in the back with the help of Doctor Strange. Walls the Groot in a nice little corner here, and they beat the crap out of him in a corner. Magneto quickly falls because of the healer pick, and they just usher in the victory with a score of 5-4. So, very, very long game. I know that was a bit of a longer commentary than I usually do, but I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys saw some interesting kind of swaps, and were able to showcase a few different tanks in that regard. This guy is one of the best players around, so I don't think he does anything, again, too crazy in this replay, but does what his team needs, gets a couple key picks, especially on Groot, and as you can see, he does a ridiculous amount of damage, blocks a whole lot more, and goes 40-7. So definitely a respectable score. Leave a like on the video if you liked it, leave a comment of what you want to see next, and as usual, I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.